conquering the spirit, I'm busting through the ceiling. I'm following your lead, I'm following this feeling. Conquering the spirit, I'm busting through the ceiling. Busting through the ceiling, busting through the ceiling.
I'm Garrison, Nyck, Romero, and today we're just going to be talking a little bit about our story, our backgrounds, where we came from, how we got to this point, how we basically came from starting right out of my garage, and then now having own a 7,000 square foot training facility and train some of the top athletes in the world and work with some of the top trainers and strength coaches in the world. For me, it all started, I was a professional baseball player before I began anything strength sports related. I didn't squat, didn't really do anything. I got into, played college baseball, jumped around, Sac State, went to community college, then went to San Francisco State on a scholarship, signed free agent out of there, and played pro ball for about 4 years. And in 2009 I got hurt, hung him up, said it was about time to hang him up. And I didn't want to get out of sports though, you know, that's all I knew was being an athlete. I had my degree, I had a kinesiology degree, I had something I could fall back on. So I said, okay, I'll become a strength and conditioning coach. You know, I love training, it became a part of my, you know, just who I am. And I still can't go a week without doing something strength and conditioning wise. So started working for a small company out in small gym over in Southern California, and spent about a year there. You know, kind of got my feet wet and learned what the industry was about.
Before I met you, or
yeah, this was a Champions Quest.
Okay.
This was right before we met.
Okay.
And
so I vividly remember the very first day you pulled up.
Yeah, and it was shortly after that. I was still working when I came, and I met up with you guys. So I go from working at Champions Quest. I brought up their baseball program. It got very successful. I worked with a lot of their baseball athletes. Obviously, that was my background, was baseball. And I thought I knew a lot about training then. Like, I thought I was the man, and I was just like, oh, this is what they did in the big leagues. This is what we do, pro baseball. Right. And I was sort of right, but from a training,
you're a specimen, it's easy to think like that.
Well, from a strength and conditioning standpoint, because I mean, like, the kids I were training, they were improving a lot. Yeah. You know, so I was just like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know my shit. But it's when I bumped into you and Scott that I realized, oh shit, I don't know my fucking ass from my elbow. So
I mean, a lot of your success earlier, like as far as performance goes, it relied heavily on like intensity. It wasn't like you cared what the coach had programmed. You just kind of did the best that you could and always had the right mindset of like progressing, right? You didn't care what was like programmed for you.
All I wanted to do was win. I was an athlete. I was a competitor. I can't see literally everything. Everything's a competition. I may not say it is.
Yeah.
I may you know, give the appearance that I don't care,
mental game.
But really, everything is a dick measuring contest with me, and secretly underground, I really I size up everybody. You know, obviously I have my own personal insecurities, but I don't give a shit because it's too much fun competing with everybody in my head. You know, I mean, come on. You know.
100%.
So I like playing games, I like talking shit, and I like having fun. And I don't take anything too personally. If you know, if somebody does, and I've gotten in a lot of fights because of it, because people take it too personally. You know, they can dish it out, but they can't take it, sort of thing. And you can tell anything to me. I very rarely lost my cool about it. So that was just the type of person I was.
I was had those situations too, where
we grew up in two completely different worlds.
Oh,
I came from. Yeah. I grew up in the country. You grew up in freaking Carson
City. A pretty rough time. Yeah.
Not Carson City. Carson.
It was Carson. Yeah, it was Carson. It was.
I was thinking Carson City in Nevada.
No. It's Wilmington, like in LA, and
right.
It was
the hood.
Yeah, it was pretty rough to say the least. I mean, we didn't move out just on our own terms. Like, we moved out because things were pretty hectic. So my early childhood was, I mean, it was gunshots every night. Me having to lock doors.
We had gunshots in my neighborhood too, but usually it was they were shooting at animals.
to the extent to where like I had this chain link fence and that was along my backyard, and this particular street was home to a pretty prominent gang, and they would always roll the corner of my fence to cut through because we were at a dead end, so they would cut through and get to the park nearby and wherever they were hanging out. I mean, it was all night, hours of the night. So I would always have like this Easton bat from like I was in T-ball, just in case like people would try to rob. You know what I mean? So I'd have it right by the door in case somebody would try to come in, because you would always hear them. That they didn't care. And so probably 2 or 3 situations that kind of made it to where we got to move. One was there was a bomb that was placed about 5 houses down from where I lived, and I'm in the end. I'm in the end of the cul-de-sac. It's probably about 7 to 8 houses down. A bomb was set, timer, everything. I don't know who was it, like how crazy this thing was, because the house that they set it in was he was an okay guy. His name was Wilson.
He was an okay guy.
He was an okay guy.
He had a bomb in his house.
Yeah, in the front, right? I mean, this is the thing though. I'll tell you some stories about my neighbor. So before I know it, SWAT's there with this robot. It's like Johnny, looked exactly like Johnny Five, like a short circuit Johnny Five.
Okay.
Do you guys remember this movie at all? Okay, brings them out of the trailer, okay, that they had brought in, and they have him hold this bin, and they wanted to so they knew the bomb was going to go off, so they knew set this up. They would hold the bin. They placed all these sandbags over the bin, so the robot blows up or whatever. They couldn't move the bomb, and so just to show you the kind of mindset of my block, it wasn't everybody was inside. It was everybody in that cul-de-sac put chairs in the end of the block and sat down and had popcorn, was waiting for the bomb to explode on their own block.
How far away? Into the block from where the house was?
Maybe 100 yards, like a football field. And I remember
fireworks.
I wasn't comfortable enough staying inside, so my buddies, my friends, my childhood friends at the time, I tell them hey, my mom rented this this frightened cartoon. Let's watch it in my room, right? While this is going on. Turns out it's the first UFC.
Oh, really?
So I'm waiting for a bomb to go off, right? To hear it, and I'm watching this guy get his head kicked, and this toe goes right in the guy's eye. His fucking eye is sliced open. I'm like, what is? It's crazy.
The first UFC?
Yeah, I was
first one they televised at least.
Yeah, I think it was 93. It was 93.
Okay.
So I was 6, 7 years old at the time. Bomb goes off. We go outside. The house that it was at and the 2 houses next to it, windows are shattered. Sandbags are on top of the roofs. Bomb was going to do tremendous damage. So that was number 1. Hey, we need to get the hell out of here. Probably within 3 years after that, there was some birthday going on at a park in the street ahead that I won't name, and I'm watching Dark Reading Duck in my living room, and my dad, he works refinery, so he's gone for 12 to 16 hours throughout the day. I have a little brother and sister, so it's just me, them two, and my mom, and I hear gunshots going off during the day, which was a little different, and the area that it was.
Right.
So I open up my front door, because it's typical, but I open up my front door, I don't see anything, I leave it open. Before it's all said and done, 3 people come into my house with guns. I had essentially got them out of the house. I told them to hide in a certain place, and I locked them in that place. And
they locked them in your house?
I locked them in my garage.
Oh, that's right.
I felt like I needed to get them away from my mom and my sister. My sister was just born. She was born. Yeah, she was maybe 2 or 3 at the time.
Just before, so we don't get any more into it.
Sorry.
No. For those who don't know Nyck, he was basically pretending to be a parent for his own siblings at the age of, what was it, 12, 13?
Yeah, right about
He
there.
would go into the principal's, just to give you an idea of the type of person Nyck is, he would go into, his brother would get in trouble, he would go to the school, pretend to be his brother's dad at the age of 13 because this fucking guy had basically a full-on beard
Facial hair, yeah.
already.
Yeah.
So just kind of paint the picture of the type of person Nyck is. He is a born, I guess you would say, protector and naturally, you know.
That's definitely the mindset for me.
Yeah.
It's if I could.
Always trying to think a step ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. But some of these lessons that I learned earlier on was like, it changed my mindset. So like certain vibes at places I can't stay somewhere. Or I
Reminds you
feel
too
it.
much.
I could feel it, like it's unsettling.
Creepy, nostalgic feeling.
Yeah. So
negative memory. Gotcha.
So yeah, needless to say, that was the final straw. Don't have to go into the end of that. I probably shouldn't even go to my neighbors, but growing up, it was always very protective for me. So I wanted to lift, like from a very young age. Like I need to be stronger.
I think a lot of that too. Your dad.
100%. 100%. I had 2-pound dumbbells, 5-pound dumbbells, 10-pound dumbbells. My dad would have me literally sit on his stomach while he would bench, and I would count out the reps from like as early as I can remember, memories wise. We always had a weight room in the garage, and I was always training. And if I was playing any sports, like he was my coach, and we were like perfectionists. It was anything that he can do, because he would work 12 hours, meet me right at practice, be the head coach. I didn't lose one sport game with him my entire life. And he coached me until about 9 or 10 years old, and I played sports year round.
There's one thing, it's different as we grew up. You grew up obviously Southern California, city, urban. I grew up in the country. Both our dads were very, very involved with us, and, you know, throughout our entire, competitive life.
Yeah.
Your dad pushed you. I didn't really get. My dad, he did. He pushed me more manual labor, right? So like I was hauling brush, chopping wood. God, I chopped so much fucking wood. I don't even want to talk about it. Still have blisters, but all of that stuff. So you know, different upbringing. But the point is both our dads were, pushed us to be basically the men that we became today. Very competitive, very driven, perfectionist. So I think that
I would say it even came down to, I remember I wanted to play regular basketball, like with the guys at the park, a little bit older than me, and my dad wouldn't let me. And then he took me home, and he was like, I'm whining, I'm like crying, right? Like, why don't you just let me play with the kids at the park? He goes, those kids don't want to play with you. They want to hurt you.
Yeah.
And you're not old enough yet. He goes, if you want to learn, then we'll play. And so when we would play, he would play extremely rough, and he wanted to know how I would take it, because if he wasn't going to be there,
not only that, but also show you what you're going to have to be.
Exactly, how to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that specifically. Like, I was so mad, and because all I wanted, I was being a kid, I just wanted to play, but he knew that if I played with him, I was going to get hurt. Like, there's just that kind of intent. That's just the neighborhood I grew up in.
Sure.
It took me probably 2 to 3 years to adjust once I moved out here, to like understand that not everybody's trying to be a certain way with you. I'm not mad dogging and all that stuff. We're going to steal something from you.
Right. You went from having to worry about street cred and all that stuff to going to more of a
100%,
more white bread.
Yeah. It was rough, to say the least. I got in trouble a little bit. I was fortunate enough to not like get in trouble by the law, but it was known probably until like late teens that I was not a very easy person to deal with if I was upset.
Nor I.
Yeah.
My biggest problem has always been my temper, as you know.
Sure.
Everyone,
Yeah.
And I know everyone who knows us. Nick's the nice one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the mean, crazy one you can read me like, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. You know exactly what my wife can read me like a goddamn book, and it's really annoying actually. But it's not obvious to know what's going on with me. With Nyck, you never fucking know. You never know if this guy's mad, sad, happy. I mean, you're like an Irish setter, like I was telling you the other day. There's nothing there.
I think I always try to read my surroundings before I give away anything.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking.
Well, I want you to know exactly what's on my mind right away. It's like, no, I don't like you.
Right. I know right away. Yep. I almost feel like I can. Your body language also interprets as like I can hear your internal dialogue. You know what I'm saying? I could hear what's going on in your head.
What voice?
Whether
do you use?
it comes down to your.
Is it a deep voice or is it like a high pitched whiny voice?
It is the aggressive underneath your breath voice. So it depends. Like you want somebody to know, but you don't want to have to freaking call them out on it. So you're like, just take the hint, bud. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it comes down to the hair. It comes down to the walk. It comes down to your eye level, what you're looking at. You know, it's everything. I can.
So basically, you're basically looking at me like a wild animal in the in its environment.
You give it away.
And I just give it away.
You give it away.
Okay. Makes sense.
I could tell
I'm not mad about
exactly what is bothering you before you say anything. So there was an interesting part of my early childhood. Going into sports, I was always pretty good in baseball. Junior high, I had hit a growth spurt. I think I went from maybe 5'4" to almost 6 foot in like just under a year and a half. I'm getting ready to play football and baseball in high school. I've done some travel ball, baseball, all-stars, TOC, championships.
Same.
I remember being in 8th grade and my dad came home and he said, hey, I got the paperwork for you at UCLA. I'm like, for what? You know, I had no idea. I'm like, did you just ask them? Like, yeah. So I had no idea it was a recruitment or anything. Like, they had seen me play baseball. I was like, okay, like sounds great. You know, talked to them for a little bit. Then I'm getting to high school. I'm already going to high school. I'm getting ready. I'm doing the summer clinic.
So UCLA was baseball. USC was football.
Well, this was modern day. Yeah.
Modern day.
And so by this time, I'm already 6 foot, 200, like 14 years old.
For those of you who don't know, Modern Day is most should know if you're into sports, but Modern Day is one of the top schools for football in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They're almost always 1 or 2 or 3. So very, very, a lot of kids try to get in that school to play football.
Yeah, it's big. It's
Really
literally
is.
run like a junior college now.
Yes, it is.
So I remember I'm getting out, I'm dressing out, I'm going to go to football practice. I have my helmet and pads. This is during Hell Week, and 3 days in a row, it's like I see the same guy walking a dog, and he stops and he goes, "Hey, you want to play for Modern Day, right?"
Was it Rollo? Was it
To this day, it was not a head. It wasn't a head. It was somebody that was specifically walking down the block. We never saw him again. Like again, it was so weird. And so he talks to me and my dad, and I just remember he goes, "We can't make you a hell of a lot faster, but we can make you quicker." And I was like, "I'm already training 2-a-days for high school," and he goes, "You let me know," and I was like, "Okay." You know, and I didn't jump on that offer or anything like that. It was so hard to believe somebody that we saw him 3 days in a row, like looking at us, like literally as I'm walking out, he's always walking by. And then that third day, he asked us about it, and we didn't commit to it. I mean, I ended up going to a championship at the school where I was at, and
Pacifica or Bowl?
it was at Pacifica.
They were a powerhouse back in the day.
Yeah, and then we did. Baseball team went to the championship that year as well, and then I had an injury where I had an AC separation, clavicle separation, complete. It took me a little too long to get my arm back throwing. I ended up going back for football one more year, and I decided I wasn't able to handle that impact anymore. I was D-end, and whenever there was a down blocker and they would pull, it was too hard for me to. In the job of contain, I couldn't hit with the right shoulder. We didn't wrong shoulder in there. We didn't move everything laterally. We want to keep it on the block. So,
how'd you hurt it again?
it was just repetitive at that point. So I got it good, but I mean, it was like a train. Like every single time you have to stop a brick wall. You know, and I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to do this for years.
Right.
Then I got into strongman because the doctor said you have broken shoulder, you have a pectoral minor tear, and you have a clavicular head tear. So he's like, you're never going to be able to overhead press that much. And I immediately was like, okay, how much can I overhead?
Yeah.
And then I go, okay, what sport specializes in overhead, right? And then strongman, so I want to be able to press anything overhead. And I was at 24 Hour Fitness, always working out, and I met a mutual friend of ours, Eric Wilson. And it it changed completely from there. He takes me.
How did you met him at 24?
At 24.
When did he come up to you? Hey, asshole.
Yeah.
My fucking squat rack.
He was like, oh, I need to bench a little bit. You know, he goes, you want to do my workout with me? And then he had, the American version of GVT. He wanted to do an 8x8 program, and it was bench and incline, and I destroyed him on it. And he was like, "What do you do? How do you train?" I go, "Oh, like upper body days, this, and this." And he goes, "Oh, no, you don't do a push pull or anything like that." I go, "No." Right? He goes, "Oh, because my coach does this and this and this." And I'm like, "Okay, why do I care? I just beat you and everything."
Yeah.
And I didn't hang out with him all the time. So I see him a couple months later. We played basketball. Apparently I played too rough and I hurt his hip and he had to go to the hospital. See him 8 months later and he's completely different, hitting strongman hard. So I was like, all right, tell me what this is about, and I'm gonna go, I'll go try it out. I went and tried events. He wanted to beat me in something. He set up this ridiculous freaking medley on carrying Atlas stones and water kegs, and I had no stability. I just wanted to move fast. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this until I beat him. And then I meet Scott, and Scott has me flip junk. I flipped it 4 times.
Junk is 800.
Yeah, roughly.
800-pound tire.
Yeah, and it was like the standard. It was a standard. Like it's something that we warmed up on. Or
Scott's whole thing. You can't be a heavyweight strongman if you can't flip junk.
Yeah. Well, he goes, you're gonna do 4 reps here, and then you're gonna go down on the lighter tire, and then you're gonna go for the remainder of the minute. I do it. Right. I actually do better than Eric. I have no idea, no coaching, no nothing. And Scott going. Yeah, Scott goes, okay, that's the last time you're ever gonna do the small tire. 2 minutes later, he goes, all right, we're gonna do the tractor tire flip for 2 minutes.
For 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Straight?
Yes.
That's disgusting.
I got like 6.
Your first time ever?
Yeah.
What are you thinking, Scott?
I died because I had
He was trying to break.
I had the tire on my legs for over a minute of that. Like I was explosive, and then it was like boom, wall.
Yeah.
And then I threw up all the Chipotle. I hung in the dumpster. They always had that bin.
Yeah.
I hung over it in the dumpster probably for 45 minutes, just puking out fucking sour cream. And Eric knew the whole time. He's looking at me. He goes, "That's why I didn't eat my Chipotle." I was like, "Fuck off!" I ate it right before we trained.
Oh.
Like immediately. I had no idea. No idea.
Yeah, very green of you.
7 minutes later, I met this guy.
I don't know, not a lot of people know this, but because I played baseball, I played at a very high level, double A, but a lot of people think I was just naturally a good ball player.
Yeah.
I don't tell this story to a lot of people, but when I was 13 or 14 years old, no, I was older than that, I was 16, yeah. I went to a showcase in San Luis Obispo, and you would get letters, bullshit letters all the time, like go to this showcase, pay a bunch of money. You feel special because you get an invite. But then you realize, oh crap, your parents have to fork over hundreds of dollars to get seen in front of scouts,
Right.
College, maybe a couple pro. Anyway, long story short, I went to one in San Luis Obispo because I really wanted to go to San Luis Obispo. It's like kind of the family, a lot of family alumni and stuff like that. And they have a good baseball program. And I killed it. I did very well. At least I thought I did. They sit me down, and at the end they go over everything. They rate you, 5-tool player and all that. Everything is based on a scale of 1 to 5. And they sat me down and said, so, because they gave me compliments the whole time too. They're like, so, you'll be lucky if you make it to community college, is what they told me. And it didn't compute. Like, it just didn't register. I was so mad. I just remember being so mad leaving there, saying this is bullshit community. I'm not going to play college baseball. I couldn't see myself not playing college baseball, especially at D1, let alone at community college. It's just like, I'm not good enough to barely play community college. That's bullshit. And they said, you won't go any further than that. That's literally the words that came out of their mouth. And I made it a mission after that. And my dad worked with me, made MVP of my high school team my junior year, senior year. We won the championship, and I went to Sac State. The coach hated me there. They called me Sunshine. I missed weights, but that's where I fell in love with weight training, was in college. I had a very good strength and conditioning coach, and he built me up and put on about good 20 to 30 pounds that off season, that summer going into fall, and I destroyed it. And that coach did one thing I learned about myself, especially at that time, was you cannot beat me. I will.
Yeah.
You can tell me I suck. You can try your. This guy tried everything to get rid of me. He made me run after every practice, just to run. Like if I said one thing, I was always picked.
Yeah.
Always like, it's like Garrison, fucking start running. I remember one time I was late to weights like 5 minutes. He wanted me to get rid of me so bad. He made me run from the start of practice until an hour or two at the end. I just remember cursing his name, running around that track. And this guy didn't know shit about baseball. He was not a baseball guy. He got this job purely because he was good at organizing, making bus schedules and, food and marketing and shit like that. But he had a very good coaching staff, one of which was Jim Barr, who played for the San Francisco Giants. He was a relief pitcher and a very good one at that. And he loved me. I worked in the summer for him, raking baseball fields, and doing field work and things like that. And I was a very hard worker. That's one thing he noticed, was I don't quit. And I remember I got sat down in front of the coach when they were making cuts my second year there. And he said, I'll be lucky if I get 50 at-bats. And I said, that's fine. I'll take them because I'll prove to you.
Right.
It's just like I proved this offseason. I killed it that offseason. After I came back, nobody recognized me. I was bigger, stronger, faster. I was crushing my arm because I suffered an ulnar tear. And I built that up. I went from having to throw submarine at first base, right, to I worked with our shortstop and on my mechanics, and at the end I was really starting to let him fly. I felt great.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, I was a completely different ball player. All the guys were like, you're our first baseman, we want you, you can hit, you can run, and you can field, you scoop everything, we love you. So I was like, awesome, I'm gonna make the team, that's great. He sat me down and said, you're not making the team. Barr gets up and says, this is fucking bullshit, storms out of there, and I'm like, what's going on? I had no idea, and the coach says, I'm sorry, maybe better luck in community college. I was like, fuck, that prediction was right, what those guys said. That's what I was freaking out about.
Yeah.
So I go to the community college, first game, tryout, was a practice. It was a inter-squad game with another team, Riverside. Not Riverside, I went to Sierra College, they were just down the street, not Sac. Was another one. Anyway, I can't remember, it's been so long. But first at bat, second pitch, home run. So I made the team. I had an amazing coach there, Coach Rob Wilson, and he built me into a very baseball savvy guy. I was already a decent athlete at that time. I was stronger, faster, and I fell in love with the weights, but he made me a better ball player. So then I went to San Francisco State, then I went pro and played 4 years, did very well.
We have such a...
Yeah. I was one of the assistants.
We have such a different experience in our 20s, because you were all college sports, and I had suffered the broken shoulder, and I was already into strongman, like 21 years old, and I was coaching high school football. Like I was already coaching myself.
Yeah.
And there'd be times where me and you were training, and I would just send you random pictures of me coaching a team in the weight room, and you're having your guys in the garage. You know what I mean? That's crazy to think about right now. Most of
Ryan Evangelio, all these, I don't know these guys, but Ryan and Rob, those are two very good coaches, and we did very well. Wilson turned that program around and we killed it, man. Great guy, great person too. Very hard, very tough-nosed guy. What he liked about me was what he liked about me, also hated about me, because he loved how competitive I am.
Players on your team.
You want those guys, but he knew I was so competitive, but I also couldn't let failure. Baseball's a game of failure.
Yeah.
I strike out and I throw a hissy fit like a bitch.
Yeah.
And it didn't do myself any favors. And I remember I had the Giants looking at me at a game at a tournament we were at, and he says, "The Giants are here. Don't do anything stupid." first at bat, first pitch, I crushed a line drive, shortstop, jumped. I swear to God, the kid had a 40-inch vert. Jumped and robbed me. I thought I hit the ball out of the
course,
park.
yeah.
I stroked it. He catches it, makes the play of his life. I take my bat and just throw it like a frisbee, and I was so mad because he made the play. I mean, that's how bad I was, you know. And he sat me, and he's like, "Say goodbye to San Francisco Giants." And I basically really put, and you don't do that. You have to have composure. I did not learn that until never. I'm still,
right.
I mean, maybe now I'm a little better. I have to teach my kids that, but
Yeah.
you know, for me personally, it's always been the hardest thing is keeping my composure.
Right.
So, you know, it's something I'm still working on. But obviously, I have the competitiveness.
Yeah.
I got that down. I like to win, as you know, which is why I'm with him. He's my coach. I win most of the time.
I don't throw bats.
He doesn't throw bats, and I don't get dead last either when I go against the big boys.
This is true.
So I met Nyck, and my first day of training. I called up after I got done playing baseball. This is right when I started with, right when I started Champions Quest. I was maybe like 3 or 4 months into it, and they, you know, it was going okay. I wasn't making good money or anything. But I remember hitting up Scott saying 'cause I needed something to do. I needed to compete in something, and I hit up Scott Bringle. He's a East Coast, West Coast, ECWC. And I said, hey, you guys do strongman? I'd like to come out and try it. And he said, yeah, go ahead, come out. Yeah, he asked me what my lifts were, and I kind of lied because, you know, I really didn't do a lot of the lifts that he asked for. I had a power clean though. I had my Olympic background that I had from baseball, but did a lot of Olympic work in college. So anyway, first day I go there and just destroyed me. I got my ass kicked. He buried me, but I loved it. And that's where I met Nyck, and me and Nyck just, you know, we clicked. I could tell Nyck was very cerebral, very intelligent. I think at the time, yeah, he was working with a neurosurgeon. He had been working with that guy. He worked for him in total 6 years, but Nyck had knowledge on things that, you know, I didn't even consider, let alone know. So, you know, I started to realize this is somebody I want, you know, I want to keep close. So me and Nyck, we clicked, but me and Scott, you know, I became a big part of ECWC. That was, I can't say that ECWC wasn't a major part in my strongman career and just in my life in general, because I learned a lot from Scott and Cameron. You know, even though we may not have, a lot of people don't know, we may not gel now. It's just, you know, the way things go sometimes, it doesn't always work out. So you gotta bounce.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take care of the.
All right, I'll finish up.
Thank you.
Take it easy. Duty calls.
Yeah.
So get with Scott, and he, you know, he in 3 years made me a pro, and he helped. I even ended up working for him, and then at the same time started my own business. I started out of my garage after I quit Champions Quest because they wanted me to do a lot more work, less money, all that bullshit. So I started out of my garage. I said I can do this, you know, better on my own, and went from my garage, and then I made enough money and got a small loan from my parents, of course. So thank you, Mom and Dad, for allowing this, you know, to become a reality. And just little by little, every year, just kept getting bigger and bigger, more successful. Our athletes, and everything was based on results. I never marketed, other than, you know, everything was word of mouth. And it was around 2014 or 15 that Nyck started working out at my gym, started working out at House of Power, and then he said, hey, I think I might want to do some trainings here. He had a small group of people, and I let him come in as a subleaser, and he began training a small group, and within a month, you know, he was killing it. His class tripled in size, and he, you know, everyone respected him, everyone got along with him, and I could see this was a guy that, you know, not only does he know his shit, but he also gets along with everybody. And I am somebody who doesn't, I rub people the wrong way sometimes. That's just my nature, it's just the way I am, not necessarily always on purpose. So me and Nyck and I thought I knew a lot at the time, but me and Nyck we go over, we started training together, and I started getting hurt a lot. I started having lots of injuries. My strength numbers weren't really going up. I was still training under Scott with ECWC, and I just wasn't really going anywhere. My body was beat up. I was in my early 30s, just had a kid, and I just wasn't going anywhere in the sport. Right after I got my pro card, that seemed to be the height of it, and I wanted more. My overall goal was to go to World's Strongest Man. That's a huge goal of mine. So Nyck, I feel like, was somebody who had the knowledge and would be able to take where I was at and build me and make me that athlete. But we wanted to do it right. We wanted it right, and by right I mean we wanted to do it where we don't get injuries. I keep improving, and I want to do this as long as I can. That's my goal. If I'm 50 and I get to World's Strongest Man, that's an accomplishment in itself, I think. So I'm fine with that. But we work very closely with some very good trainers. Carlo Buzicelli, we've learned a ton from, and then other strength and conditioning coaches, even track coaches. We work very closely with like the Fullerton track coach, Marcus, and then I've learned from readings from like Dan Pfaff and other prevalent coaches like that. Brett Contreras, everyone knows, of course. So just doing that research and talking with these other coaches, getting to work with some of these other coaches has really shaped and sharpened me and Nyck's, especially Nyck. He's just taken and ran with it. He is like a freaking book. That guy can recite damn near anything. Supplement movement patterns. He's very, very proficient with power and leverages with the athlete, biomechanics. So he knows what movements are going to work best, what movements are great for injury resistance, right? Making sure we minimize and reduce the risk of injury. That's one of the things that we really pride ourselves on. Now, a lot of our athletes, they don't get hurt very often. Now we're trying to create the atmosphere. We're trying to get more athletes in here and build up this team. Our goal when we go to a contest is we just want to dominate everywhere we go. That's our ultimate goal. And I feel like for the most part, that's kind of becoming a reality, because a lot of our athletes, Nathan Goltry, just a prime example. The kid's been in the sport barely a year, and he already has his pro card. Granted, he was a D1 football player, and he's already a big boy, but for him to be able to learn the movements of strongman and progress that quickly is, in my opinion, pretty cool. That's hard to do. We've taken a few others, a female, Emily. Within a year, she gave us a year, got her pro card as well, and it's just how this business and how our concepts and methods what they've become today. It's pretty incredible. It's remarkable, and we don't just want to compete and be good. We want to be the best in everything. And I think that if you're going to do anything, that should be your mindset. So, a lot of people are like, who are these guys? Very few people still know about us, and we're okay with that. But we want to, that will change. We know that that's going to change because we work with professional athletes, we work with a lot of teams, and we have knowledge and experience that a lot of the coaches in the sport of strongman and strength sports don't necessarily have. You have a lot of coaches who they may have great accolades in the sense of they're very strong, great squat or deadlift or bench or what have you, but what have they done in the training world? Who have they trained? What are their successes outside of themselves? So this industry is very watered down. We want to change that. We want to be able to give people knowledge, and we're very open with our knowledge too. We're not those type of guys who are going to sit there and keep everything to ourselves and nose in the air and fuck you, we don't care about you. That's not who we are. We want to share our knowledge, and because a lot of people, the way we do things, it kind of gets crapped on because it's considered too safe. But we don't want our athletes to rely on drugs. We don't want our athletes to rely on lifting heavy and lifting till you're done with it. That's all bullshit. when I say go about and do things the right way, getting me to world's strongest man, it may take a little bit longer, but I don't see the issue with that. If I'm able to, if anything, that's just going to prove us right. It proves that what we're doing works, and we know it works already. But my body and my strengths are a lot different than other guys. A lot of people don't know this, but I'm not very strong. I'm going to put that out there right now. I have a sub 600 squat, ass to grass, full range of motion, maybe right at 600 on a good day. I'm 38, I'm almost 38, I'm pushing 40 now, so you have to keep that in mind too. But I, for the most part, kept injuries at bay, but I have a very weak squat, I have a very weak bench, a very weak overhead press, still, and it's gotten a lot better. That's the crazy part. When I first started this sport, I could not strict press 185 pounds. I couldn't push press 300 pounds. I was maybe like a 250, 265 guy when I first started. And that's where I get as a lot of leg drive. But you don't need to have all that static strength in order to be a strongman's more about being an athlete than it is about just being strong. There's brute strength, and then there's understanding power and leverages and things like that. And that's what we pride ourselves on, is being able to be as efficient as possible with our training and with our movements, doing things right, doing the movement as it was intended to be done. Because what we see with a lot of other coaches and trainers is they may even have great movement selection. They may have a great workout on paper, but the way it's applied, it's not going to necessarily do the athlete as much justice as they think it's going to do, or it may not suit that type of athlete. So you have to know a lot more than just getting strong. It's a lot more than just how much weight can you put up. So I've been able to do that, get to the top. I've competed against Brian Shaw. I've competed against the best in the world. I went to the Arnold Santa Monica, went up against Martins, who I've competed against also in the past when I was an amateur with him, and many others. And I hung in there, but I got to that level with a sub 600 squat, a sub 400 bench, a sub, maybe a 300 strict press, and I was able to hit the 370, 380 or 375 log there with an hour after my last warm-up. How did I do that? On an unstable surface. A lot of people, when you really sit there, because the devil's in the details with these kind of things, and when you sit there and really think about, the more I think about it, the more, because I'm not a big guy, I'm only 285 pounds on a good day when I wake up. Most of these guys have, a good 100 pounds on me. So for me, I'm competing already with the odds stacked against me. So in my opinion, what we're doing with Nyck, what I'm doing with Nyck, and how he's coached us and a lot of our athletes, it says a lot, because we're able to do a lot with a little. And it's only getting better. We're only getting sharper. We're learning more all the time, just like everybody in this industry is, because one thing you have to understand, you don't know everything. And guys who think they do, that's when you stop learning, and that's when you stop getting better, and that's when your athletes start failing. So you have to keep an open mind. We don't think we know everything, but we also understand that this is our passion. We know what works, and we might be doing a little experimenting, but everything is on the right path. So anyway, my partner's gone. Nyck, he left me alone, so I'm just rambling and ranting right now. But I want to appreciate you guys for taking a listen and getting to know a little bit more about me and Nyck. We're going to be doing this a lot more. Hopefully we'll have we'll be able to stay for the whole show next time. Good job, Nyck. High five. And we're looking forward to it. So hope you guys enjoyed that. My name is Garrison, Pro Strongman, and Nyck Romero. Peace out.